because we have seen a lot of mental health cases and people seeking specialized health care, which is too expensive. We also appreciate that this very proposal, in fact, responds to the anomaly that was in the alcohol control bill, which prevents any bills from imposing financial burdens on the consolidated fund. So this particular tax proposal, as it will generate revenue, indeed allays the fears of the alcohol control movement. So among all those very reasons, we support this proposal, and we call on government to impose these taxes annually, that every other tax cycle we will be seeing the increments increasing, because that funding, if at all ever earmarked, it will propose alternative funding mechanisms for the health sector, including financing national health insurance. We, as I said, we are also having an opinion on taxing of sugar, because excessive consumption of sugar translates to increased non-communicable diseases. That, of course, affects aging and health. And I also said it excessively overburdens our health expenditure. We have also been informed of the increasing cases of pediatric dental caries, and of course also those who go to access healthcare in the specialized, very expensive specialized healthcare, which is of course concentrated in Kampala. The heart disease, liver disease, and all those are the reasons as to why we are saying an increment ought to be made. But we are also cognizant of the fact that people perhaps who are processing juice at domestic level, they are competing with those that are already bottling these, wherever you see very excessive, rather heavily dosed with sugar. For instance, people now no longer look at drinking tea in the morning. They are drinking all these fizzy sodas or passion fruits, mango juice. They have all been heavily imposed in with sugar. So the incentive, we are saying that even if this very sugar is for domestic consumption, it may not translate to that very excessive expense, because it indeed overburdens communities and homes with the diseases that they may never overcome. So we are supporting the increment, and we, like I said, strategically we are happy with how government is choosing to impose these taxes.
For ease of follow-up, you'll be mentioning the page you are on.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. For purposes of sugar, it is 24 and 25, and we are in agreement. We said government, in looking at the volumes and strategically taxing, not necessarily collectively taxing, but we realize that in government electing to impose a tax on what is domestically accessible, we are afraid it did not impose a tax on the industry, those that are excessively packaging sugar in very small tins or containers that are readily accessible. I also know that there are parents who find it very difficult, if they walked into a supermarket, to refuse buying a very small, tiny beverage which is heavily too sweet for the child. So if government imposed the tax with the intention of reducing access, that in any way is going to embolden the parent and save their children from accessing these. Schools are indeed making it a habit of allowing these excess sugar uptake because of the ready availability and so cheap fizzy products. Allow me proceed to page 26. We are all aware that indigenous technology has afforded Ugandans alternative packaging products. I don't know whether you have bought coffee before, which is roasted, which is in a banana fiber package. we know that the industry can tap into these alternatives rather than rely on the plastics. So we are encouraging government to tax these very plastics, but also government can incentivize these very plastics for whoever is purchasing them, that maybe there is a surcharge at the point of purchase, that they find more value in this plastic rather than just dumping it. We know that this may have an impact on straws, on, we have seen plastic cutlery, plastic plates, and these are very easy to dispose of because the consumer does not see any value in them, and that has an impact on the environment. So we encourage you and persuade you to impose these taxes with the intention of restricting on their disposal, and perhaps also if the enforcers would be encouraged to, for purposes of the polluter paying. So we are calling upon you to impose this tax with that hindsight that the polluter should pay. The polluter should carry the burden of collecting the damage that they dump into our markets. And of course, if you look at the flooding in Kampala and all over and the health reasons or environment related, I think there's every reason for you to believe in this particular proposal. I think in the interest of time, because excise duty is all for protecting health or availing people the ability to assume or consume, but conclusively, page 27 is the one that is talking about the cooking oils. We have in other circles been engaged in advocating for the elimination of accessing oils that are partially hydrogenated because of the cardiovascular disease, heart disease that they cause. We are also aware that on the market there are oils that are very substandard, and we are also aware that they are very high quality oils, but they are too expensive. So while electing to impose a tax or not, please factor in that the very expensive are the healthier ones, but also there are prevalence studies that are annually being conducted by the Heart Institute. And also we have heard that the Minister of Health is interested in coming up with a law that will seek to eliminate access of these cheap oils, because in any way, even the Bureau of Standards is having challenges with regulating them. So as to whether tax or revenue collection or illicit dumping of these very oils on our market can be sorted, we think a broader approach is better. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You quickly run through, because we are really going through the whole thing altogether.
Thank you, Chair. I will just touch on the TPC, which is the Tax Procedure Code, which is mainly to improve the tax administration. And I think the bill has one or two proposals, which I think one of them, our colleagues talked about it, which I will not talk about it. But I will hint on the old waivers, on the penalties. In terms of improving the tax administration, I think this is a proposal that we welcome, and we think this is going to be able to discourage tax avoidance and improve a lot of compliance. But even as we approve it or recommend that it be considered, we really recommend that the companies or the firms that will be considered for these waivers should be able to go through the institution of the parliament for proper scrutiny, so that we'll be able to know, because what currently happens is that these waivers are done on favor basis. Sometimes you do not know which firm or which individuals have got these favors. So we recommend that the parliament should be able to interest itself so that they know which company, which firms, which individuals have been able to benefit from these waivers. The other recommendation that within the bill that we support is on the famous e-freeze. I think the current status quo, I'm on page 32 now, I'm on page 32 now. The bill seeks to amend a Principal Act by inserting a taxpayer specification under Section 92, subclause 2. So it indicates that under the IFRIS, if you are a company, you are not unloaded on the IFRIS system, the penalties were a little bit higher, which was encouraging a lot of non-compliance. And therefore, in terms of improving the administration, they have been able to reduce. Basically, this is to reduce. It is to reduce the stands at about 20,000, but now that seeks to reduce. It seeks to reduce the charges on the IFRIS if you are not unloaded the IFRIS, which for us we think is a very good thing, which is going to encourage many companies, many firms to be able to unload onto the system. Chair, the last thing that I would want to speak to is on the lotteries and the Gaming Amendment Bill, which is page 33 and then follows to 34. It seeks to amend the Lotteries and the Gaming Act as it is amended by substituting for SEDO 4 the following SEDOs. The 30% of the total amount of money staked less the payouts for the period field returns for the betting or the gamings. The idea here is to increase the payouts from 20% to 30%. For us, we welcome the idea because we think gaming itself, it goes beyond just members engaging in. It has a health and a mental distress issue. So we think that this increase, first of all, will be able to discourage many of our young people from going into betting because of the complication that comes around with issues that happen when people bet. Currently, we have a study by, I think, Harvard University that indicated that a lot of mental distress is generating out of betting and sporting. And we also know that many of our young people now are involved in betting. Others even bet school fees, others bet all sorts of things. So we think suggesting such a prohibitive measure will be able to help our economy, but also will be able to reduce our spendings in the health sector. So we recommend that the Parliament considers, the committee considers this, and goes ahead to support this amendment. Thank you.
Is there another submission?
Yep. Thank you very much, Chair.
Siatini? Okay. Yeah, let's be a bit fast.
Chair.
So, two of you are presenting at the same time?
I'm presenting.
Come again?
I'm the one presenting right now.
But there was another person there. You go ahead. Do that.
I think it's okay.
You put on your mic. No, you switch it on. That's its on now.
Take off this one. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Henry Bazira, and I'm a member of the Tax Justice Alliance. I'm here before you to present the VAT, but I noticed some of the issues of the VAT that we have here have already been addressed, but just for purposes of emphasis, I'm going to cite them. And one is the amendment of CAP 3.4, this is page 35 of our presentation, and the first row, amendment of CAP 3.4.2 under the value-added tax, and where they want to insert immediately after subsection 6 the following, that this section shall not apply to a designated person under subsection 2, where the designated person pays for taxable supplies and is issued with an e-invoice or e-receipt in accordance with section 92 of the TPC. And so we think that this this introduction clarifies that when a designated person receives...
Be loud a bit. Is the mic very far from you?
Is it? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
No, you put it closer.
Come again?
There.
This is better? All right, on that very section, we are in agreement with the proposal, and so I won't say so much on that one. And the other one was on same page, the second row, where there's an amendment of Section 7 of the Principal Act, where we have an amendment in subsection 2. We welcome the proposal of increasing the VAT threshold from 150 to 250, but we think this, on our opinion, this should be increased to 500 for the reasons that were given before. So I won't say additional comments that we have here. You already have them before you. The other one was on page 37, where there's a small addition we think that needs to be included, and this is about the credit to hotel and tourism facilities. And for us, we are suggesting that there's need for clarity on the period of commissioning to ease the enforcement of the sunset clause, which, by quoting the clause, which occurred not more than 2 years. So we need clarity on that, because we are aware that not all hotels or facilities will come into commissioning at the same time. So that sunset clause has to be clarified on how it is going to be applied. Then I'm now on page 38, under the last row in that page, subsection B, that is concerning, this one has been already covered in the previous section of the discussion, and we welcome the idea. On page 39, for subsection 3C, for purposes of subsection 3A and 3B, developing a tourism facility, we think that these two needs to proceed. We welcome the idea and also support the service providers in the sector to also benefit from this provision, and that covers the other two other comments we made, we had. And one on software, I think, was talked about. We don't have much to add on that. However, on the last amendment, this was on page 40, amendment of section 32 of the Principal Act, where the minister is being given powers to determine payments, terms and conditions for payment of tax on plant and machinery and inputs in the mining sector. We are of the opinion that this is a good proposal, because in the past we were having a challenge of inputs in especially the mining sector. But we think that there needs to be more done, especially in respect to the inputs. For example, movers, trucks, loaders, offloaders, excavators, which are often used in other sectors. So we would propose that machinery that is input in the mining sector be given unique identifiers, for example, number plates or barcodes, or other codes that would identify them as unique for the mining sector. Because a truck, a sino truck in quarry mining and a sino truck in the mining sector are the same. So, but for the miners to benefit from this, we need to have them, just like we have our number plates for government and other parastatals. Can we have these trucks identified uniquely so that the miners can benefit from this provision? I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, I would like to speak to the proposed amendments under stamp duty. The first one is on, the first proposal is to have persons carrying on businesses or financial services to file a return on a monthly basis. And while we welcome this proposal, but it should be amended to explicitly define the definition of financial services, because it could include services like the small entities, sort of small village settings of where the villagers come together to actually offer financial services to each other. So inserting such a provision
So
on
you're suggesting those ones should not be
yes,
included?
they should be, because they do not have capacity to file a return on a monthly basis, because it also comes with an additional cost of hiring an accountant. So for me, it's about more of taxpayer education and also educating them. So it should be done in a phased manner. So at first, it should be for those businesses carrying out financial services as defined in the Financial Services Act of 2003. Then the second amendment proposes to have persons to maintain a business document, to maintain documents for at least 5 years. And we welcome this because it will improve compliance. Whereas when the URA intends to conduct audit, some businesses usually destroy their records in a year or two. So in the event that...
Actually, they don't destroy, they just hide it.
Exactly. So it sort of boosts compliance. Then the third proposal under the stamp duty is to amend Section 63, subsection A, by increasing the value of stamp duty of the total value of land from 1.5% to 3%. Of course, this sort of increases government revenue on the side of Ministry of Finance, but our challenge here is when it comes to transfer of land. Of course, look at the widows, the child-headed households that are intending to transfer their land from, inheritance. And of course, when it comes to transfer, it doesn't involve any financial transactions. So 3% of the total value of land would be a very big burden on some of these categories. Of course, we acknowledge the fact that there is a high growth of the real estate sector that involves land transactions, but at least there should be sort of a clusterization of the categories that fit under this provision.
For example?
The widows, the small, no, when it comes to transfers, for us it's on transfers.
Yes.
So this provision should largely be put on the sale of land. But on the other hand, we also see that increasing it twofold is really so high. So we recommend it should be increased to at least 2% and then to 3% in the subsequent years. Then there is also a provision that intends to have stamp duty on registration or transfers of motor vehicles and motorcycles. There are two categories there where we have motorcycles, tricycles, and quadricycles at 50,000. Then any other motor vehicles at 200,000. Of course, we welcome this proposal based on the fact that it intends to sort of expand the tax base of the stamp duty. But we want to point to you that when it comes to the motor vehicles, it's sort of inequitable to charge all motor vehicles at the same amount, yet they cause their impact on the road network, any other externalities to environment like the noise is so different. So while we propose that government adopts this proposal, it should be done in a differentiated rate structure, which we've included there, whereby the heavy-duty commercial vehicles, the light vehicles at least 200, then the motorcycles and the tricycles can pay 50,000. Of course, for the motorcycles, it also helps government to sort of tap a given sort of direct tax from the increasing border sector that is actually not contributing to the income tax net. So my colleague will wind up with that too.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
You still has to present?
No.
Okay, it's all right. We are... Give him the opportunity, man.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Abeka Mayani.
Excuse me. Understand, this is Siatini presenting.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. As we are trying to wind up, the last one is looking at the external trade, where we are saying that the proposal for inserting immediately after subsection 3 those items is trying to exempt these items from the infrastructure levy of 1.5%. So it means that it is good for us, and it can enable Ugandans to purchase these exempted goods at a relatively lower price. But what we are saying is that we have seen a reasonable amount of revenue foregone due to such exemptions, and yet the private sector in Uganda is taking a big lead in terms of the health sector. So it means that you might find that it is the same thing which we had on the diapers and others. You find that we have set an exemption, but you can't feel the exemption at the end of the day. So we need to have mechanisms to see that the exemption which is given by inserting these items under the exemption of infrastructure levy can be felt, or there is value for money. So we think that government should look into that to ensure that there is value for money for the exemptions which we are losing out. The last one is on the issue of the used clothing, and I'm going to just go to the recommendations specifically where we think that because you have the document, just to emphasize, we are saying that government should encourage local textile industries to manufacture and supply high quality but also affordable clothing in Uganda. We have had a challenge that some of the textile materials that are produced locally, if not expensively, extremely expensive, some are poor quality. So how can we make sure that the program which they call the all program approach comes into play? Because we have seen that taxis being given a burden to check on unnecessary behaviors or something without working with other line ministries to ensure that there is that reinforcement. So we need to see that even the Uganda standards, Bureau of Standards, work hand in hand to ensure that if that is the case, then our exemption and supporting these textile industries is achieved. And we are also saying that the government of Uganda should also learn from other countries. We have seen that countries that have taken this initiative of banning used clothing like Ghana, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, and Vietnam, they are being supported. How can we make sure that there is a window of supporting these infant industries, these industries that are doing textile industry in Uganda, to be able to produce? Because as they are producing, we are reducing on the cost of the foreign exchange we forego in the imported textile industries. Chair, you had proposed that we have some proposals, but we were just looking at the analysis, so we didn't look at the proposal, but we have two, and the last one we is going to talk about gender. The first one is on the proposal to...
Is it within the...
Yeah, it is the proposal to look at how government can generate more revenue.
But you are giving me the impression the one winding up. No, you are giving it someone else.
There is a gender aspect which you wanted to add on the debate before.
Double gender, because gender already had been. I thought the lady had already spoken.
No, the gender was stamp duty, not in terms of gender. It is a request to you, Chair.
You do it very fast, within 2 minutes.
Thank
really
you.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and, lucky enough, most of them have been spoken to. I'm called Kashija Emmanuel once again. And I come in with just summarizing the gender consequences of these tax bills. Now, of course, we know that Uganda implements quite a robust framework around gender-responsive budgeting. But unfortunately, I think we've applied that gender-responsive budgeting mostly to the budgeting side of only budgetary allocations. When it comes to taxation, we view a citizen as a single unit, regardless of gender. And we say that this is not correct, because whereas taxes are seen as gender neutral, they actually affect the different genders in very unique ways. So even without, it can either be implicit or explicit, but most times implicit, that when you take certain sections to taxation, you end up affecting a certain gender worse than the other.
Just give us an example.
So yes, I'll give you a few examples. Actually, thank you.
Just give us one.
Of course, for example, they mentioned the increment. Yes, it is a smaller attachment of 5 pages. Yeah, yes, forward. Yes.
Forward.
So, for example, they mentioned the increment on sugar and cooking oil.
Mm. Yes.
Page 3 of the document. There is. I've skipped the first one on fuel because it's quite obvious.
You give us the one of sugar.
Yes.
How to affect some gender.
Sugar. Yes. Sugar and cooking oil, for example, is first of all 2 aspects. The domestic aspect. Uganda has about 26% female household, female-headed households, who are among the most poor. Actually, who they say face intersecting poverty. But also on the small business and middle income sector. Right now, there are a lot of women in Kampala and around Uganda who are dealing in businesses like confectionery, bakeries, and actually healthy juices, fresh juices. Now, without being explicit that you're targeting women, you find that in these industries of confectionery, bakeries, and juices, they are about 80% women dominated. So even without saying it, when you increase this price of sugar, the price of cooking oil, people who are making mandazis, making bread, they are mostly women. When they can't make ends meet, then their families will suffer. I hope that's a good example, Ms. Chairperson.
That's a good one.
I'll give also, of course, there's still on page 3, there's another example around the mobile money. The mobile money, whereas we are reducing the fee on mobile money withdrawals and then going for unity across now all institutions, be it banks and everything. Information or research shows that women usually make small but frequent withdrawals because they are getting money for survival.
From
no, not the ones of transport, not the Kampala ones. Not the Kampala ones of transport, yes. But the ones where you're sending, not the Kampala ones of send me transport, but rather the ones of where you're saying, especially the ones in the village where they're saying, send me some money.
He was saying the ones of transport.
The one who receives transport.
Thank you for the humor, Mr. Chair. But I was saying, leaving those aside, especially women in the rural areas who are being supported by their relatives in Kampala and towns, receive money for posho, for sugar, and that same money is being taxed, whereas they are receiving very small monies but making frequent withdrawals. Now, research shows that actually, for example, if someone is withdrawing 1 million shillings to a bank in a one-off payment versus someone who's withdrawing that same 1 million but over very small amounts, the other person will end up, the person who's withdrawing small amounts will actually end up paying much more tax. So our proposal is that not to hurt these women who are receiving very small amounts. We can create exemptions, not on the entire amount, but for small monies. Maybe we can say below 50,000 to say let's exempt those from the tax. The evidence is there on page 4.
You address the chair. You forget
on the IMF research showing those who make frequent small withdrawals pay more tax.
Maybe Honorable Pachito has not seen those in Pakwachi.
Chair, they are majority women.
Mainly women.
Mainly women. I'm not saying only women.
Yeah, so you wind up.
Yes, two more examples, Chair.
No, not examples. I think you have really demonstrated it.
Yes,
very well.
so two more points on the bills. There is on the Bujagali. I know Bujagali has been mentioned severally, and for us, our concern is what this foregone revenue can do for, especially maternal health. The money we are foregoing for Bujagali annually is more than twice what is being put in maternal health supplies in Uganda. Now, there is a need of about 1.2 trillion for maternal health supplies in Uganda, but we are foregoing this money for Bujagari. And as the rest have already presented, both I think my colleagues and even members of your committee, that the evidence from the Auditor General, the ad hoc committee, and URA don't actually show the real benefit from this exemption. So for us, we are suggesting that this money would rather be, Bujagari Power would rather pay, and we invest this money in maternal health. And lastly, Chair, on the increment of stamp duty on land transfers, I think my colleague has already partially spoken to it. There is a difference between sale and simple transfer. You could be transferring an inheritance. You could be transferring even a gift from your better half. So we need to create some exemptions for those who we deem most vulnerable, who may be, and of course, the Chair, without going into details, we know the big difference between land ownership in Uganda between men and women. And so if you're trying to aspire to bring women to the table of owning land at the same level of men, we need to create for them some affirmative action when it comes to this stamp duty. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I just want to say that I am very much impressed because you have really demonstrated how a tax regime should be gender sensitive and it should show equity. And that's what we shall recommend to the institution charged with this, to make sure they also demonstrate how gender sensitive a tax regime or propositions are met. Thank you very much for actually bringing that aspect to these tax propositions. So, members, I wanted to suggest that we request all the stakeholders who are around to present, then we react at once. So I would wish to, if that's agreeable. All right, so Kasita, yes, a quick one.
Thank you very much. The textile, your proposals good, but you need to do classification. In South Africa, when South Africa got independence, when they said the people of South Africa should get tax waiver, the whites who are dominated. So in this case, they are Chinese Ugandans who have factories. They are the ones producing poor quality textile. So we should talk about the indigenous Ugandans. So come up with a list where 1,000 indigenous Ugandans whom we should support. Then the other question, Mr. Chairman, that's to me also.
Are you still there? All right, Kasita.
Yes, sir.
Insurance Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Then CS Bag, in that order, then eventually PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Issa Sechito. I'm the chairperson, Kasita, Uganda. My work has been made very easy, Mr. Chairman. By the rules of the game you set, almost everything that we would talk about has been mentioned, apart from a few very important issues that I want to emphasize. I am lucky, I am a manufacturer under MSK Change Investments. I am a trader importing electronics, and I'm the director for trade and commerce at the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Therefore, I'm at the center. Whatever is being mentioned, I have been somewhere while we were formulating the idea. Therefore, going through our presentation is just a formality. I will only go because the very first information is talking about Kasita and the executive summary. The income tax amendment views have been presented almost all, and we are in agreement with the main positions as presented by Uganda Manufacturers Association. We also have had issues to do with the mobile money agents and all this mentioned, and we are concurring with the position of the Uganda Manufacturers Association. to that effect. What is very important to emphasize, Mr. Chairman, here is on the value-added tax. Issues have been mentioned, honorable members, about the threshold and how the application of VAT and the IFRIS is disturbing the business community. The proposed 250 million as threshold still remains so low, and it's going to give a very huge burden to Uganda Revenue Authority to implement the IFRIS. We are no longer fighting the IFRIS as a whole, but we request that for administrative adherence to the policies and guidelines, we think that the threshold for VAT registered companies mandatorily go for not less than 500 million as the bare minimum. This will give URA and the taxpayer is the time to manage. As we are speaking, the amounts implied in case you didn't pay or transact in IFRIS is 100%. If you had to pay 50 million, you double, it's 100 million. It is very restrictive, and people will find ways of dodging. So the better way is to target those that don't feel it, and those are the formal companies whose threshold is higher. I thought this I would emphasize. Also, maybe for consideration, Uganda is also disadvantaged, especially my majority of members, who approximately 3 million members, the majority of them are importers. So the VAT rate has in the East African community remained imbalanced because Kenya is 16, Uganda has persistently remained at 18, and there are ways that we are being marginalized in competitiveness. The other one that I need to talk about.
But do you mind mentioning how you are marginalizing competitiveness?
Because you are all importing from the same sources, and if your taxes are calculated at 18% and the others at 16%, definitely there is a difference, a margin of 2% that goes to the one with the lower VAT rate. That does not need much explanation, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
Supposing you...
Can I continue, Mr. Chairman?
You continue.
So, the other one, Mr. Chairman, because most of them have been deliberated on clearly, for example, the stamp duty, I have nothing much to say. I can only now go to the very important and has been mentioned by the previous speaker, and this is the matter of second-hand clothing and the proposal to increase the surcharge from 15 to 30. Second-hand clothing is an option in the interim because through a report that we made with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, we found out that the total capacity of all manufacturing companies in the textile industry in Uganda can satisfy the demand by only 3%. And what has been substantive...
Chairman, maybe just like your colleagues,
yes,
you can mention to the committee whether you were consulted during this process by the Minister of Finance.
We were consulted. I wouldn't say we weren't, but you know, it is a diverse section. Like I belong to Kasita, I belong to the PSFU.
So you were consulted under which?
We are consulted under the PSFU, Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Thank you. So I was explaining that the second-hand taxes being increased from 15 to 30%. This is on top of the 35% import duty that is the CEO rate, the 18% VAT for Uganda, there was 6% withholding tax, the 1.5 environmental levy. Now there is an intention to increase from 15 to 30%, which is a surcharge. By practical example, if you did this, you'd be adding 18 to 20 millions on every container of second-hand items. We are already operating at a disadvantage because while a container being imported into Uganda directly costs between 140 to 150 millions, in Tanzania and Kenya it is around 80 to 90 millions. So the playing field in that area is not equal. Leaving that one aside, in Uganda we are already under restriction and we are doing this business under import quotas. The Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives is already regularizing to eliminate second-hand products. And these people say, if you subject them to a new tax, yet they are recouping to do other business, you would be depriving them of capital that they will use to go into other investments. So you are already licensing the second-hand dealers. Not every Tom and Dick now can import second-hand. And now you are also imposing a surcharge, which they see as a double punishment. The idea here is they should be left at the 15% surcharge so that they can be able to transit into other areas or areas. They are going to lose capital in the process, yet they are on the verge of crossing over to other industrial sectors. And this is coming at a time where I present a very, very related thing, Mr. Chairman and members. You have seen Kasita and the traders demonstrating for the last 5 years almost every year. And it has been because of the taxes levied on textile and garments in kilos. We sat in Nairobi some 3-5 years ago, and we agreed that according to the WTO requirement of the GATT valuation method of valuing goods, the maximum for all manufacturing companies, or for the common external tariff for all imports of textiles and garments, the maximum would be 35% import duty. Any levy above that would be acting contrary to the GATT valuation agreement. We have stated this. We are stating it that it is allowing a lot of disparities now that many Ugandans are offloading goods in Kenya, are offloading them in Tanzania, are offloading them in Congo, and the government itself is promoting smuggling. Because there is no way you will let Uganda pay approximately 650 million per a single container because of taxing in kilos, yet it is at 250 million in any other countries. You are leaving a range of about 400 million as room for smuggling. We have talked to the president, we have talked to the officials at the Ministry of Finance, and they tell us this is a tax for the president. I stood before the president in State House and asked him whether it is really his tax. The president said, that is my tax because I want to promote local industries. I gave him examples of how Kenya and the other countries have supported their industries in the textile sector without this. And he said, I'm making final research to come back to you. I feel this is a dire opportunity to convince you that taxing clothes in kilos is not only illegal according to General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs as a WTO requirement, but it is a disservice for which nobody is earning. We met Uganda Revenue Authority a few days ago, and they were equally dissatisfied. You are going to meet them here. I implore Mr. Chairman to ask them about who is benefiting out of the charging of taxes on garments and textiles in kilos. The rest of the players are applying 35% as maximum, and Uganda is using either 30% or $3 per kg on garments and $2 for textiles. So this is a policy that has killed the business and brought about a lot of disparities. You can imagine the same time you are phasing out second-hand clothes is the same time you are charging taxes in kilos on garments and textiles. As if you wished people to pass naked. It renders prices very high in the region if Ugandans were not bold enough to smuggle, in quotes. Therefore, Mr. Chairman and members, this is an area where we wish members to help us and tell the President, convince the President together with us and URA to remove the charging of taxes in kilos because it is a big menace. Mr. Chairman, I want also to comment briefly because all issues, it is semantics now. Most of the issues have been mentioned. You repeating them is the semantics. But there is a very important thing if I spoke as the chairman of Kasita and did not highlight the importance of or lack of it, of supporting Vujagari with any waivers. Mr. Chairman, we have always often at time complained about these waivers that are not cutting across. You cannot auction my one container for $30,000 US because I've paid the taxes, and then you are giving a waiver of billions to a fellow business person who is only using state cover, who is only using state resources to harass the business people. The traders downtown are paying, some of them I have evidence, are paying a unit of power 2,500 shillings.
Yes, Chairman Kasita.
Yes.
I'm also told that you don't have meters there, so how do you pay?
No, we have asked for meters from Uganda Electricity Generation Company.
So that's not electricity you're paying
They are
for.
giving us what we call one landlord pays the generation company. The generation company comes to decide what I will pay. At my shop of electronics, I pay 850,000 a month. When you calculate what a unit goes for, approximately is 3,000 shillings officially. Some even issue receipts. The unit would be for 900 and a few shillings. I instead pay 2,500 shillings. And these, some of the people of the landlords have made this a project.
Is it that there are no available meters?
They are not,
because that's also one issue.
It is stubbornly done between the landlords and the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company to cheat Ugandans. And now while they are suffering, somebody looks at the room and says, that bulb is 50,000, that one is 50, so a month you are going to pay 300,000. Just that. And now you are saying we are going to allow this to continue for the next 7 years. It becomes ridiculous. We think if it is business, let it be business. Let them use their money. Then we complain about the harassment, but not my own self, my own money being picked, pay you, and then you come to harass me. This we don't support at all. Taxation.
But now
is like a bottle.
Now, Mr. Secretary.
Yes.
You are also multicolored. That's the problem.
Yes.
When you are UMA, you support. Now, when you are Kasita, you are not supporting.
There are issues I supported, and I said I will not even highlight.
I'm talking about Bujagari.
Because
as UMA, you supported Bujagari.
I have advantages I get as a manufacturer.
Listen.
Yes.
You know, you have to be very straightforward.
I am.
Because we don't want you, when you turn the back here, you...
I am.
What I'm saying is...
Yes.
When you were here as UMA, you said, we recommend the extension.
Did you?
Now, yes, you were
Mr.
here.
Chairman, you didn't hear
Hold
me.
on. Are you a member of UMA?
I am a member of UMA.
Yes. UMA just made a presentation here.
Yes.
And said that for us, we are okay with Bujagali extend.
Have you ever heard about
Now
the
when
minority report?
Uma moves out.
I am mentioning a minority report about supporting Ujagali on this matter, and I should be put on record.
You should have informed us.
And I am a member of UMA, but on this one, I make a minority report. Because I daily pay for the factory, but I pay in Kampala, and I'm being cheated in the city. People are crying. I can't leave them crying, and then I accept that money be pushed from the consolidated fund to support.
Chairman.
Yes.
Now you are okay where you are not a chairperson. Now where you're chairman, you're crying.
No, it depends on the magnitude of the matter, and
Yes.
I want to employ this committee.
So what I'm saying is you need
pick
really,
further
you need really
interest
to help your
in these allegations.
Your team.
The committee should pick interest in this matter because it is very important. How can a unit be costing less than 1,000 and the Kampala people are paying per unit 2,500 and 3,000 on record? This, how would I say this? Thank you. So, thank you. So, the other issue is about protecting the ceramic industry and porcelain tiles. Life of Ugandans has improved. You go to the village there and the people have tiled, no more jiggers. Because some houses that you would expect local have tiled. But now making 1,000 per every square meter increment, on top of the other excessive excise duties on ceramic tiles and porcelain tiles is something that you need to consider further. Because it is going to add on the cost yet, although they are producing at capacity, the factory that is doing this, the goodwill, can only fulfill the market by only 50% of the demand. If you add more tax, you are denying people to stay in houses with a good standard of living. This is something that we also need to look at and see whether the 1,000 increment per each square meter is worth it. Mr. Chairman, I want to conclude. Because on most of the issues that I have not mentioned, I am in agreement with either the private sector foundation who were here yesterday or the manufacturers who were there this morning when I was listening. I have made a disclaimer to every aspect where Kasita does not support them. And this should be on record, and I don't need to mince words because I always want to be straight, and I speak out of my heart. This is what I feel, and this is what I'm convinced with. Finally, Mr. Chairman, taxation is a good tool. But countries that are always thinking regulating because of taxation alone take a lot of time to grow. We need to keep taxes low so that we boost incomes and boost investments. If we persist with this syndrome of always using only a tool of taxation as a means of growth, the more I shall depend on this, Mr. Chairman, the slower I shall go on growth. I submit.
Thank you, Mr. Sekito, representing Kasita. Now we want to hear from Uganda Insurance Association, and then thereafter, Federation of Small and Medium Enterprise, and lastly, PricewaterhouseCoopers. But members have not reacted. They need this. But there are chairs behind there. Huh? Okay, let's ask a few questions then.
We shall go. Alisat is hitting us. So, honorable members, we can ask them a few questions and then we release them.
Just one
yes, honorable Kanya. Yes.
I want to ask Mr. Chairperson of Kasita.
Yes, Mr.
About 8 years ago, 8 to 5 years ago, we used to have so many Kenyans, Congolese and Tanzanian traders flock in Kampala. I met several of them on my en route within East Africa, and I would ask them, what is taking you to Kampala? They said, when you go to Kampala, you find textile very cheap and of good grade and good quality.
Yes.
And I did research with my friends who have hotels in the city. They told me Kenyans, Tanzanians, and Congolese would come here, stay in hotel, and would buy textile. Is that still happening? Where is now your market? If there is any change, or that's still happening?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, through you.
Just a minute. I think take notes.
Okay,
Let's pick a few questions, then you can answer.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to thank Kasita for the good presentation. Chair, my question is that you did acknowledge the fact that as traders you are happy on the recommendation of increasing the threshold for the VAT registration from 150 to 250, but you are, I've seen consistently many of you have recommended it to 500. Why would you rather not say maybe from 250 to 350? What is the magic with that figure 500?
Thank you, Honorable Pasuto. Chairman Ankole.
Thank you very much. My name is Basil Bataringa. Yeah. Yes, Chairman Ankole. Chairman, when the chairperson of Kasita was talking about charges on electricity, I felt him. Because we represent also people in the rural areas, apart from electricity in the manufacturing and trading industry, it is also a vital item in the social sector. Now, there are two questions. One, when you go across the country, there are no meters. And yet, when electricity has been increased in its production, we should expect that people are going to consume it, and therefore we provide meters for them because we have to measure and know how much they pay, and then government gets tax on that part of the payment. This is not happening, and I felt him when he was speaking. Number two, isn't it therefore necessary, this is on our side, to call Uganda Electricity Generating Company here, distribution here, so that we understand why, to understand the factors that we should address in this issue, especially on Bujagari.
Thank you, Honorable Basil. Can I have Honorable Goli? Then we can go to my brother from Arua.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kasita.
Yes, you got it. Got it? You are on the floor.
Yeah. My issue is just to understand the issue of charging taxes in kilos. I thought that was a CET. So when it is a CET, it applies also in Kenya, Tanzania, which you had mentioned that they are charging in a different way. Because this is a common external tariff, what Uganda is implementing, not a Uganda external tariff. Thank you.
Honorable Jackson Lee.
Thank you so much, Chair. My question goes to Siatin. I appreciate the presentation. I am aware of the role Siatin plays as civil society organization about the well-being of the society and good governance, but I realize they operate without having a direct constituency. They touch here and there for the welfare, well-being of the society and good governance. And my question comes, when they were raising the concern about Bujagali, after having heard very well from UMA that the proposals of having the tax waiver, the exemption, be approved. And for 13, they are saying we generate so much, over 2,000 plus megawatts, and what we consume domestically is 700 megawatts, and we shouldn't go waiving that tax anymore. That is according to them. I wanted to ask them, what informed their recommendation? Did they conduct a research? If they did, can they avail us with that document so that as a committee we appreciate that this research has informed that recommendation, aware that what UMA presented, and they are aware that they fight for the well-being of the society, because the fear is if the waiver is not done, tariffs will go high. If tariffs go high for manufacturers, prices of commodities will also shoot, and we will fail to do our usual bubble, buy Uganda, build Uganda. We may end up importing from out because the locally produced goods will be expensive. So did they do a thorough research on that? That's what I wanted to ask.
Thank you, Honorable.
Lastly, Honorable Chair, I want to appreciate our chairperson of Kasita, my good friend. I know in many forums he has stood strong to support the business community and the rest. And I'm also happy that he's a member of UMA. Now, when UMA was presenting, I expected as a member of that same group, he should have come quickly to appreciate or give his version as they were advocating for the tax waiver as a minority report. Now they have gone. I am wondering whether they sat as UMA together to come up with that recommendation where now he has a minority report, or it is just an isolated kind of discussion. I will want clarification on that from the chairperson of Kasita. Thank you very much.
Let's make our comments brief. Honorable Kefa, then we can have my... Yes, go.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. My colleague here, Director Opposite, who presented for Satini on excise duty. You made something, you presented something on plastic, and you said it should be taxed because it will help to improve the environment. But I would have liked you to hear from you your comment on the various initiatives that are going on, making sure that plastic is recycled, which helps to collect it from the environment. Are you aware of those initiatives?
Thank you. Can we have Honorable Modibi?
No.
Okay, you're still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you made another comment, which I found very interesting from an expert. I think you are talking about alcohol, that actually that one should be taxed every year. I don't know whether it's emotional that you don't take alcohol, but from investment perspective, you know that investors normally want stable tax. Actually, from all people we've heard from, they've been insisting on stable tax, actually complaining that we have these tax bills every year, which makes it risky investing in Uganda. Doesn't that undermine all your other comment that probably you are not well informed as an expert?
Chair, rejoin.
And then the last point on Bujagali, my good friend Issa Sekito. Now, you are complaining about the higher cost, the high cost of tariffs. Unfortunately, the Minister of Finance is saying that that's what it is trying to cure. It is trying to bring the power down for you. So, although you were very persuasive from the side of the traders, you did not comment on that argument that actually if we do the exemption, it will help to bring the tariffs down. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Chair. Chair, there's a rejoinder. Can you do it quickly, Honorable Goli? Thank you. It is what Siatini had mentioned about packaging, and they gave an example that we are packaging coffee using banana banana leaves. So I don't know whether he's insinuating that we should do our packaging of most of the items using banana leaves. Thank you. Honorable Mudibi?
Yeah, Chair, I sympathize with the tenants who are paying high tariffs in form of electricity. But we have Landlord Tenant Act 2022, Mr. Why can't you, there are rights of a tenant. You see what's happening, honorable members, there is a cartel of few landlords in town, especially this Kampala area. They don't allow tenants to install meters, their own personal meters. So you take space, I pay. That's the challenge. If they allow the tenants, you say, I'm paying rent, I'll be responsible, they may install. They don't allow. That's how they cheat them. It's not a question of saying there are no meters. Meters are available in the country. But these are stubborn guys who want to cheat. So really, take note of the Tenant Landlord Act and the rights of tenants. Then you take them on. Second, you raise the issue of varying tax rates. It is true, and I've even raised this over and again. I come from a border area. Wheat flour in Kenya is cheaper than in Uganda. A carton of wheat flour of 12 packets in Kenya, if you bring it to Uganda, like in my place there, it costs 58,000. But Uganda is 73,000. Why can't I buy from Kenya? Because Kenya, they are paying VAT, because they also import wheat from the same source at 16%. It's very right. Soda. Look at cooking oil. As you increase tax for us, at the border will go to Kenya to buy cooking oil. And many others. I've raised this, but you say, the minister the other day told me, how many commodities are you talking about? But they have effect. So they are really right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any honorable member who hasn't asked a question? I just have two observations. Chair, I don't know whether you have something. I'll finish and give it to you. I would want to agree with the Honorable Goli that apart from inviting UEDCL, we actually also need to invite the Uganda Electricity Regulatory Authority. Those ones are the ones who give the rates for collection. Now, if the rates they tell us now for manufacturing is, I think, $5.7 per kilowatt hour, cents per kilowatt hours. Now, for home use and downtown, even if it is up, it's relatively small. So it can't go beyond 2,500 or 3,000 shillings per kilowatt hours. I think this matter must be investigated.
it's just simply unacceptable. So I think as a committee, we'll see how best we can meet them, because we need to solve this problem. Then the second one is on IFRI's limits. You're saying the 250 million is not enough, should go to 500. The question is, because the battle, committee members, the battle that the traders down there have had with URA was the implementation of IFRIs. I would want to hear from the chairman whether the issue of IFRIs is no longer an issue, because the question was this and that, people were hiding, were holding cash and things like that. We would want to believe that you are now talking about in terms